Hey everybody, Alex here out of the Park 21 Pittsburgh Pirates franchise, episode 16. This will be the off-season episode. I will try to keep it shorter since the last couple videos have been pretty lengthy with us going through the playoffs. I'll be piecing this together over the next couple of days in my time to get through the off-season, but I do want to start things off by talking about how the MLB 2021 season ended, and I can't find the playoff tree. I don't know if it's available on the screen and I'm just missing it or not, but you'll see it here in the bottom left-hand corner. It was the Atlanta Braves who are World Series champs, sweeping the Angels. So I guess we'll take some solace in losing to the World Series champs. And I really think if we could have beaten Atlanta somehow, I think we could have beaten the Angels because they were not a particularly good team. So that is wrapping up the playoff season. Atlanta world champs. Congrats to them in 2021. Do you want to talk about some of the moves that I've made? Then we'll go over awards and go through arbitration. I have released some players to start making room for salary cap and space financially because we were in a really tough spot. So we have released Colin Moran, who apparently is already signed. I didn't realize that till now with the Auckland, not going to even try to pronounce that last name. So he's been released. He signed a $2,000. I don't know why he signed right away. He definitely could have gotten a major league deal, but not going to be from Pittsburgh. And although it was kind of painful to do, Jameson Taillon has been released as well. He was going to still be at like a $6.5 million arbitration estimate. He's wrecked. Now he's a free agent, asking for far less, but he will not be coming back to Pittsburgh. We also released, as of right now at least, one other player, reliever Edgar Santana, who spent most of last year in AAA with Indianapolis. Spent a little bit of time with with Pittsburgh in the majors, but has not had success really these last 2 years. Better in 2020, but still not very good. And he was pretty dreadful in limited action this past year, and I was not going to pay him even like the $750,000 I think that he wanted. So that is where we're at with releasing players right now. Do also have some personnel changes. The first time we've actually made any changes to our front office in the big leagues. I may end up still changing the trainer here, Brian Housen, and get someone who's better, especially with the arm injuries. Have not decided that. I want to get a better lay of the land financially. We do have a new scouting director. We have lost Joe Delicari. I tried to re-sign him. He would not sign with me. He wanted a 3-year deal. I was going to give him a 1-year deal, and then he wouldn't sign to me whenever he became a free agent once his contract expired. So we bring in Mike Rivera with a very similar rating set, although he's better with the amateurs for the draft than Delicari was. The numbers have changed not pretty differently, but a little differently with, of course, the whole organization. Anytime you bring in a new scouting director, they have their own set of ratings, but I did like favorite tools. I prefer the favorite tools over neutral or favor ability guys. We also have a new bench coach with Mickey Moran. I don't even know how to say Miranda. I don't know how to say his last name. Clearly, Don Kelly was the previous bench coach, but I figured we could probably find someone a little bit better, maybe better relationships. This guy, the coaching thing is weird in this game. It's so underdeveloped. I really hope they focus on that 1 year. I kind of doubt that. But his development influence is good, and his relationship's supposed to be good. We'll see if that actually pans out. And he's local. He's from Kittanning, which is close to Pittsburgh. So Don Kelly had some Pittsburgh ties, and so does this guy. So that's kind of the partly why I decided to do that. He got signed just to a 1-year deal, and we'll see how it goes. We were able to re-sign pitching coach Oscar Martin, hitting coach Rick Eckstein. Charrington signed through 2024, and of course there's me. And we've made a bunch of changes to the minor league coaches as well. Don't know if there's anyone real notable to talk about here. I think we have an offer to Rod Barajas, former Pirate. I think is a hitting coach, maybe for the Double A team, but not really important to what you guys care about. So those are the changes for the coaching staff side of things. A couple other things mailbox related I want to touch on. According to our owner Bob Nutting, our payroll is supposed to be around $85 million for this upcoming season. It was about $77 million this past year, so hopefully that gives us some more flexibility. We'll see. The finances don't really seem to show it right now. I don't know when it's gonna transition over to the next year and how all that stuff works, but we'll see what happens. But hopefully some increase in our budget, which we kind of desperately need as a very small market team. And I think retired players, retired coaches, nothing really there. Let me show you guys the awards. All right, I'm just going to scroll through the awards here quickly. You can pause if you'd like to look at them more in depth. That is the AL Great Glove Awards. I think Trevor Williams won one for the pitchers last year. He does not get it this year. It goes to Stephen Matz instead. No Pirates on this list. We'll talk about arbitration guys here in a moment. For reliever of the year for the AL, it goes to Hector Neris of the Angels. He won just close over this Indians guy here. And in the NL, it was well-deserved Jordan Hicks of the Cardinals. Nick Bertie got 2 votes. And those are not my votes, by the way. So that was someone else doing that. But Hicks had a really impressive year, 1.3 ERA and 35 saves. For the Silver Slugger awards, again, here are the AL. You can just go ahead and check those out there. Mike Trout in center field, Kyle Tucker in left, Torres at short. And for the NL, it goes to a lot of Braves, a lot of Dodgers, as you would expect. Will Smith at catcher, Freeman at first base, and the outfield, some Nationals. Also, they were also with Trey Turner and Soto. So the teams we faced in the playoffs had some really good bats this year, no doubt about that. Rookie of the year in the AL, it goes to another Angel, Justin Williams. He beats out Ryan Mountcastle for the nod, and yep, that's the list there. Wander Franco with only 9 votes. He had a really impressive year. And the NL, it was Alec Baum, got traded. I forget what the deal was. It sent him from Philly, I believe, to Milwaukee for Corey Ray. So I think a really good deal there for Milwaukee, no doubt about that. But anyway, so he wins the NL Rookie of the Year over Corey Ray. Okay, so I guess that deal kind of worked out for both teams. Bolton finished third, so Bolton did get some votes. Surprised Brian Hayes didn't get any votes. I'm pretty sure he was not a rookie last year, but either way, he does not get any sort of votes there. The AL Skipper of the Year was Miguel Centena of the Angels, who went to the World Series, of course, and Dave Roberts of the Dodgers in the NL, who had a terrific regular season, but of course, they lost to the Pirates in the NLDS, it was. For the Cy Young Award in the AL, it goes to the Indian Shane Bieber. Beats out the list here. Clevenger, Sale, Verlander, Glasnow, and Snell. And for the NL, it was Jack Flaherty, which, again, very well deserved. Beats out Syndergaard. And a couple Pirates do get on the list, lower on the list, Mitch Keller and Cody Bolton. So hopefully next year, Keller especially could have a real chance to be in strong Cy Young contention. That is the hope anyway. For MVP in the AL, it goes to Rafael Devers. He wins it. Boston Red Sox hit .331, 42 home runs, a whopping 139 RBIs. He almost doubled Jose Ramirez. Vlad Jr.'s on that list. You can see the whole list here. I'll just scroll down through it. But Devers very deserving. And for the NL, it was Freddie Freeman, who kind of narrowly beat out Cody Bellinger, Gavin Lux. You see all the host of Dodgers players there. No Pirates on this list. Unfortunately, no Pirates won any awards this year, so that was disappointing. But I don't know if there's anyone so strongly in contention to win, so I'm not really that shocked by it. But those are the awards for 2021. Did mention some of the arbitration things we've done. We signed Nick Bertie to 1 year of arbitration. He will earn... What will he earn? $7.2 million. His arbitration estimate, I think, was around 7, so I'm okay with giving him a little bit more. And also we got, I just saw it a second ago, with Dovydas Neverauskas, $900K. Very cheap rate considering his excellent level of production. I've always said I don't know how long it's going to hold for, but the guy keeps pitching extremely well. So we're going with Neverauskas, of course, for another year of arbitration. Unfortunately, and I know we're a small market team, but our fan interest barely moved. It went up by 1 because we signed Nick Bertie to that arbitration deal, to avoid arbitration, I guess I should say. But you think for a team that made it to the NLCS for the first time since '92, the fan interest would spike. So I wish that mechanic would work. I know the loyalty isn't great, the market size is tiny, but what do I got to do to get the fan interest up? Do I got to win 5 years in a row? So get another. It may fluctuate more. Maybe it goes down a lot next year if the team doesn't do as well. But I would like to see fan interest be more variable and easier to attain because our attendance is not great, and I think it should spike in years where your team makes a deep playoff run. All right, enough about that. Arbitration and free agents, and here's the look here for the arbitration eligible, and I think we're going to go to arbitration with all these guys. I tried to make some offers, the ones that were accepted, like Bertie Neverauskas. The other ones, I either just didn't want to make an offer or they were rejected. So Amir Garrett, Heath Hembry, Chad Kuhl, Josh Bell, Adam Frazier, and JP Shuck. Frazier, we'll see what the number is. Still potential trade candidate. Stallings is interesting. I want to bring Jacob Stallings back. I don't want to pay him his $5 million arbitration estimate. I think if he becomes a free agent and he's out there on the market at a 45 overall, he can't be more than $5 million per year with these kind of numbers, hitting 242 and OPS plus of 69. So I think I can get him cheaper for that. He is supposed to have another arbitration year after this, I believe, and so making him a free agent will void that out. A couple years actually he does, but I don't think he's going to be in the long-term plans of this team, and if I can save some money with him, I'm still going to debate if I want to give him an offer, but I don't know if I want to pay him $5 million per year, because I think I can get him cheaper than that, and even after this year, I think I can go cheaper than that if we start exploring some longer-term options at catcher on this team. And when it comes to free agents, we've offered Billy Hamilton a deal. I think it was 2 years at like 1.49 something million. We'll see if he takes it. Just to be our center field defender. The bat obviously is not strong, but he's here for his defense. Chris Archer had that setback with his torn labrum. He was not going to be re-signed anyway. And Michael Walker, the injuries seem to be piling up. He's got a torn back muscle now. He had injuries late in the year. They were minor, but still enough to be bothersome. And so I think we're just going to let him go, potentially bring him back. But I kind of lean on the no side of that happening. And the long list of pending minor league free agents, not really a whole lot to note here. I think we've signed maybe Tyler Nevin, or at least offered him a contract. I think that's offering a contract. A lot of these players are angry, unfortunately, so I wouldn't be able to re-sign him even if I wanted to or could afford it or whatever. The only guy I'm looking at here is Tomito Augustin, who we traded for in the Keone Kela deal last year. Hit pretty well in Double A, hit 271. He's normal, so I can be able to sign him the contract. He wants a major league deal. Do I want to pay the $845K for that deal? I'm not really sure, so I could try to offer him a minor league extension. I don't think he'll take it. I may try it, but I'm still kind of debating on that. Alright, so a bit of news here on November 10th. We've signed some minor leaguers. Signed Phillip Evans the other day. Tyler Nevin, a first baseman we traded for, because we like his eye discipline, Moneyball type style. And he had 15 home runs in AAA this year, so that's on a minor league deal. Happy about that. Billy Hamilton is on a 2-year extension. Oh, his contract here, 2 years at $1.45 million. Will he see 2023? I kind of hope not, just because hopefully we find another longer-term option by then. But I think that defense and speed will hold long enough until then. And fan extension, again, I don't mean to rant about this, but my fan interest doesn't go up at all. There may be like a point the entire season, and Bertie goes up 1, and for Hamilton it goes up 2. I mean, what's more important, signing Hamilton to an extension or going to the NLCS? So I just think there's some wonkiness when I play this game with 19. Fan interest seemed to be easier to go up whenever your team was successful, which is logical. But regardless, we get Billy Hamilton on a 2-year extension. Quick check-in here before salary arbitration. Tomito Augustin, did go on a minor league deal, so I did not end up offering a major league extension. I'm just trying to be really in conserve mode right now with my finances, but he signed the minor league deal, which is perfect. So I think we will return, unless anything happens in the next 2 days, with salary arbitration results, and fingers crossed for some good news, because it could go really well, it could also go really poorly for a team that needs to make every penny count. Alright guys, we are back from salary arbitration hearings, and they sided with us for all but one player, and of course that one player is the one you hope they wouldn't side with the player, but let's go through it here. Chad Cool will be playing with us for $1.1 million, JB Shuck $850,000, and the big one, Josh Bell, was worried about this one. We can offer $10.2. He asked for 11.875, and the arbiter ruled on behalf of the player. So that, again, for a team that does not have much money like us, that is a significant chunk of change. I'm very glad we did not sign Tomito Augustin to a major league contract. They saved us $800 and something thousand there. Anyway, Amir Garrett, 1.1, siding with us. Heath Hembry, $950,000. That may have to change at this point. Maybe have to trade him or something. I'm not really sure. And Adam Frazier, $12 million, the biggest of them all, somehow more than Bell. He demanded $15 million. And again, is that a contract we could move? Absolutely. It's something we'll at least be explored throughout the offseason and in this video. Alright, we are here for free agent filings on November 17th. Here are the international players. The only one I think I have interest in right away, I'm not even going to try to pronounce these names. Luis, we'll call him. This one's easier, I guess. Moru Luis from Taiwan. He wants just a minor league deal, it looks like. He's got really good eye discipline, avoid K ratings, some versatility, not great anywhere defensively. But he is interesting with high intelligence and low greed. Rather eat a hot dog than roast beef at the Ritz. That's a Phil Kessel type that'll probably fit in well in Pittsburgh. So probably offer him a contract. He is 32, but if it's a 1-year deal, hey, I'll explore it. And then we have a trade proposal. Just realized that. No, you are not getting Brian Reynolds. And MLB free agents have filed. See some of the top names here. We'll look at the list here in a moment. But Arenado, Verlander, Kimbrel, Taylor, We saw what he did to us in the postseason story. Archer, Pham, Realmuto, Baez, and Rizzo are the top free agents in this year's class. One piece of good news from this game, and I was always, I was unsure when it would roll over into 2022 contracts and work with that payroll and those numbers, but it has done that for the starter free agency, which does make sense. I'm glad that's how it worked out. And so we actually have money now for the first time in this whole series, under $10 million, which for us is a lot of money. For other teams, it isn't. Check out our payroll right now. For Asher Bell, Musgrove, the top earners on the team, total payroll of $75.7 million. We're also probably going to make some trades, maybe get some cash for guys. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But we do have some money for the free agency to work with, which is really nice. I've already checked some of the free agent list before free agency obviously began, just to try to get a feel for who I wanted to target. I was still looking at some center field potential guys, because as good as Hamilton is defensively with the glove, his bat is obviously very much below average. So I was looking at, could there be any potential replacement there? There really isn't. I think it'll have to come from a trade. There is Kevin Pillar, but he wants a lot of money. These demands do come down compared to day one, so you should always wait on these guys unless there's someone that either is just really cheap or you just really want to get, but you're going to pay through the nose for those kind of guys. But Pilar, interesting, but just not as good defensively. It was a 5.1 in center field, which isn't bad, but not great overall. And 1,000 innings actually combined, he was a 5.2. So Hamilton was like a 14 something with his rating in center field. So we're just not going to go for Pilar. We're going to stick with Hamilton, maybe look for a trade. So the only place I really want to look at, kind of just, what I feel like I need wise, the number 5 starter is starting pitching. And look at some of these names here. Archer's hurt, Morton's hurt, Verlander's old and wants too much money. So I was trying to think about who I might want. I think I have a short list somewhere. We'll take a look at that here in a second. Okay, I lied. There is no short list. I thought I had one. I didn't. I'm looking at some starting pitching options here. We're just looking at fit. Maybe some guys that got unlucky. Julio Teheran, Chase Anderson. Just no one that really feels like I want to go after and spend what little money we have. So take a look at all players here in free agency. Let me just again go by default. I mean, you saw the list earlier. Scroll over here. These are the top names right now. It just seems like an okay class, but just feels like we don't have any big needs. So I'll walk through this with you guys over the next couple of days in my life and game time as well, and kind of see who I want to target. But I think this offseason will be more about trades, trying to really make some. We've not made a lot of trades in 2 years with Pittsburgh. Some, but nothing significant, not like a lot of OOTP players. We have not really blown up this team in any significant way, either going all in or fire sailing things. So I think this is the year we start making some pieces, not to go either way in the fire sale or going all in, but just to add some youth and some longer term talent, some really interesting prospects. I don't know for sure if it's going to work or not. I have some guys in mind. I'll talk to you guys throughout the video on who those options may be and if it happens. All right, guys, we are back with some more off-season news here in late November. I forgot to hit record when I was doing this trade live with you guys, which I wanted to do. That's what I intend to do, but I'll show it to you guys after the fact. We have not missed a whole lot. We have a new starting pitcher on our team. It is Jackson Coar, former Kansas City Royal, potentially going to be our number 5 starter. That's kind of our goal with losing Michael Wacha, and I don't trust Chad Cole to be that number 5 starter for us. He's long relief, and even then he's kind of borderline, I think. Former first-round pick of the Kansas City Royals in the 2018 draft, 33rd overall, former Florida Gator, top 100 prospect. Was with the Royals last year. The numbers here are not great. 5.24 ERA plus of 92. What I think is interesting with him, if you look at some of the more advanced numbers here, is his BABIP. His BABIP last year with the Royals was 340, very unusually high, and I don't know if that was just bad luck or just bad defense or what, but compared that to previous years, that BABIP, I would not anticipate that number being as high again in 2022, especially with our defense. It's pretty solid. Look at past years, just 3 starts in Omaha in 2021, but 267 with the Royals his first time up. He was really good. To BABIP 225, that may be a little low, and somewhere in the middle is going to be where his BABIP really kind of averages out. But other places, 275, 323, 305. So even if it just falls to 320 or 310, somewhere in that range, you're going to see that ERA fall, I think, at least under 5 and hopefully lower than that. If you look at some of his more expanded pitching numbers here, a FIP of 4.98, so lower than ERA, not significantly, but I just think he's got a chance to outperform those numbers with maybe some better defense and just some better luck. He's got good control, which I like to have. He kind of reminds me of Joe Musgrove a little bit, 3+ pitches with a fastball, curveball, and a very excellent changeup. So he was angry in Kansas City. He was not happy to be there. The team was poor. They were rebuilding and probably trying to give up on a guy that just didn't work out as a first-round pick. So Kowar is now our number 5 starter, we sent, I should say, to Kansas City, Connor McCaffrey, first baseman, did really well for us in the organization last year in low A ball, hit 24 home runs, OPS plus of 147, 2.5 WAR, but I just don't really see it there. His home run power is not high enough to justify the low avoid Ks. We have Josh Bell. We have some other first base options in the system. I do like his overall profile, a fly ball hitter. He's got good first base rating because he's tall. He's 6'6". First base and height has a big correlation in this game in terms of how well you play defensively, how efficient you are, but I just didn't see it enough with him. And I think that was a position where first basemen are fairly expendable in our system, at least. So we're sending McCaffrey to Kansas City. We could have done the deal with just McCaffrey alone. I wanted to throw in some extra stuff for them. Sending over Kevin Kramer to the Royals, kind of a quad A player for us. Look at his career numbers in the major leagues. I mean, they are really poor. Let me go to basic stats here. 177 in 49 games, almost 300 plate appearances, no home runs. He's just been a quad A guy. We have some other guys in the system, I think, that can fill that role much more competently, like Alan Cordoba, for example. So it just didn't work out. He had some allure as a prospect early in his career, but just not seeing it now. So he goes to Kansas City. And also threw in a relief pitcher, Frankie Barta, who we got in the Kella deal last year. He was okay in, mostly in Double-A Altoona, 106 ERA plus. He's got a sinker slider combination or ground ball pitcher, which you don't see as many ground ballers, it feels like, in 21 as you did whenever I played 19. Just a run-of-the-mill dime a dozen reliever, but someone to kick in for them. He does have high work ethic, so there's a chance he at least reaches his value, maybe even exceeds those expectations. Looking at some other things the Pirates are trying to do, Jacob Stallings, who I did not mention when it came to arbitration. We did not offer arbitration because I thought I could get him cheaper as a free agent. So we are offering him a 1-year deal worth $2.8 million. So assuming we're able to get him, it should work out well. So we'll wait on his word. I'll let you guys know what happens with Stallings, but happy to get him for the much cheaper number because arbitration would have cost at least $5 million. So we're getting him for almost half of that. And also looking at Mo Ru Luis from Taiwan, international free agent that I mentioned earlier. He's 32 years old, so does not have a lot of longevity in baseball, but I like the eye discipline, avoid K combination. Versatile infielder, probably end up playing a lot of second base, maybe something in the outfield as well, because his arm and his range are not fantastic. He'll have some competition to make the team. He'll be in spring training, but I did offer him a $10,000 signing bonus, so I think he'll be able to sign, come in, compete, and we'll see what happens at Worth. I think he's some pretty interesting depth. One guy I think I mentioned before, Luis Diaz, is really interesting. This is kind of my ideal first baseman with good home run power, good avoid Ks. A lot of guys that hit the long ball, their avoid Ks are like 30, 35. They're striking out a ton. He's interesting, though. He's never played in the major leagues. I don't know. I'm really astonished that he hasn't because he's got great numbers. He's raked at every minor league level he's been at. His OPS plus has nearly been 100 in every single place he's been. His overall is strong. I mean, everything looks good about him, and because that overall is strong, and that's how the game determines contract demands, the dude won $6.8 million, and I would love to sign this guy for like 3 years, $12 million total, $4 million per year, but it's hard to justify. He wants like a 5-year deal, and without doing anything in the majors, there is a projection there. He's actually down to 3 years now, which is interesting. He's got an offer on the table, so I'm looking at this live now with you guys. Oh man, I don't think I'll be able to afford that, but I would love to have a guy like Luis Diaz. I think he's like perfectly for what I look for. But with Josh Bell, obviously he's your first baseman today. The money I have is not a ton. It's more than what I've had in the past, so I don't think I'll be able to get him. I'll be very curious to see where he goes. But we're going to keep tabs on this guy because I want to see how he does at the major league level. And a quick look at what's happened in baseball early on before winter meetings. Jameson Taillon has found a new home almost immediately. He goes to the Cubs, so we'll probably end up seeing Taillon, assuming he's not on the injured list. But Chicago gives him a small deal. Was it 2 years, 2.5, we'll call it total. And the Astros are loading up on talent. What was their record last year? They were 96 and 66. I don't know how they have the money to afford it. They have signed both Nolan Arenado to a mega deal and JT Realmuto, so the Astros are going to be a force to contend with, and so we'll keep you posted on the rest of the offseason a little bit later in the video. By the way, I was just checking in on some extensions for free agents after the 2022 season. Here's what Josh Bell wants, 8-year deal, $168 million total, player opt-out in between there. that is going to be unlikely to come from us. So start thinking about plans for life after Josh Bell, because as good as he was last year, just cannot pay him all that kind of money. Even Trevor Williams wants a good chunk of change, and that's fair to him because he's hitting free agency, fully for the first time. But 5 years, $51 million. It's going to be a different team, I think, after this year, for sure. Frazier wants a lot of money, but we've already kind of had our heart set on him being gone. Cool, of course, does not want much, but I don't have really any particular interest in giving him a deal. So, yeah, thinking about the future of this team, it's going to be very interesting. And there it is. Luis Diaz is a San Francisco Giant signing a 3-year contract worth $19.5 million. That could be a bargain for the Giants. So again, we will definitely pay close attention to his contract. At least he's not in the Central, but he is in the NL. So Luis Diaz, I got to find the next guy like him, because I think that is potentially a bargain, just not in the cards for us right now. Alright guys, 2 pieces of news to bring along to you guys. We have a new trainer, Sue Falsone, who is much better, at least on paper, than our old trainer, Brian Housen. The main thing with Falsone, where Housen struggled, was preventing arm injuries. Our old trainer was poor. She is rated as outstanding, and of course very good across the board otherwise. So that's a big thing. Well, I don't know if it's going to really affect our major league staff, which didn't have giant injury problems. We were actually pretty lucky with that. Our minor league staff was ravaged. Just a laundry list, a scroll of players injured, especially pitchers, including, I think, obviously Tyon had his problems, but let me pull up the other one prospect that we had here, Brennan Malone, who had a torn UCL, and I don't know if he'll be the same pitcher. There's a chance he's coming out of it better than some of these guys, but that changeup now is pretty poor, so he may become just a reliever ultimately. But yeah, I think that's a good move to bring in a new trainer. So you have a pretty different front office group than what we've had in the past. We have a new scouting director, a new team trainer, and a new bench coach this year. So after keeping it the same the first 2 years, we are finally making some changes to our front office. All right, another big trade for the Pirates coming out of winter meetings. Here's one you don't see every day in Out of the Park, where the GM of both teams say it's a good deal. Yeah, I don't see this one too often. Usually the other team will say it's a good deal, and your assistant will be like, this is the worst deal ever. Maybe add in a prospect or something. So here are the terms of the deal. Pittsburgh will be acquiring Jonah Heim, and if that name sounds familiar to you, it should. We took him in the Rule 5 draft last year. He struggled in spring training because we had Barrera and Jacob Stallings. There was no room for Heim, so he got released back to Oakland, but we hadn't forgotten about him, and he had a very good year in AAA with, I think that's Las Vegas. He had 311, 899 OPS, 113 OPS plus, 3.5 WAR. Here's the thing with Heim, and catchers in this game are very difficult to find productive ones, but baseline level, I like his defense, fielding stats, they look okay. It's a +1 ZR, but I'll take that. Only 10 pass balls, 30% roughly. Caught stealing rate, good enough for me overall. The catcherability, which was 60, but you live with it. I don't know how good his average is going to be. My guess he's probably going to be hitting career around like 240, 250. If I get that, I'll take it. But he's going to get on base, and that's the Moneyball approach of things. I'll look at his batting stats here in his career. I mean, it would be very shocking to me, even knowing he's going to have to make the jump to the majors. He's never been in the majors before, if he's not going to have a good on-base percentage. Look at the strikeout and walk splits throughout his career in the minors. Last year, 63 walk, 69 strikeouts. The year before, 49 walk, 64 strikeouts. Look what he did in AA in 2019, 24, 27, 10, and 22. I mean, maybe earlier in his career, the splits were a little more drastic, but very impressive rate that you don't see very often here. 14.5 strikeout rate, 13% walk rate, 10% walk rate 2 years ago, 13.5 strikeout rate. So my goal is always walk rates above 10%, strikeout rates below 20%. He's basically 1-to-1, very impressive. So I think because of the eye, because of the void K, he's going to get on base. He's the leader, which will be good for the clubhouse. To have catchers to kind of have that leadership asset, because while they won't usually be great batters, they can at least offer that to help team chemistry and those kinds of things. So I like this guy. It's a bit of a gamble. I am giving up a decent amount here. Let me show you who I'm trading away. It's 4 different guys. Had a heck of a time trying to make this deal. Trading Keith Hembry, who we claimed off waivers from the Padres last year, part of a postseason run. He's got some decent control stuff. I don't like the movement fly ball combination, but he's got really good fastball, curveball, and slider. Throws fairly hard and was generally productive for us last year as a decent arm, as a middle innings kind of guy in the pen. Now some prospects. Ji-Hwan Bae, who I think is impressive. I think he's a guy that I don't really want to give away. He was not great in Double A Altoona for us last year after having a pretty good year in A-ball the year before, but he's got a lot of speed. He's good defensively. He's got decent eye and avoid K. There are some issues about leader and loyalty and work ethic. Those aren't good signs. He is not happy to be here either, and that may be stunting his development as well. But you got to give up, some decent prospects to get someone like Heim. And so Bay will go to Oakland, also giving up. And this is another piece that I didn't imagine and plan on trading away, but here we are. Steven Jennings, a starting pitcher in AAA Indianapolis last year, was not very good. I do like that he has good control. The walk rate is low. The Ks aren't terrible. But he looks okay. I mean, he's not bad. He's not bad. He looks okay. He's not bad. He's not the power pitcher. Our philosophy, or power pitchers, this guy throws 90-92. He's much more finessed, even if his pitcher type is listed as normal. But you don't like to trade away starting pitching too often, because I think my philosophy is you can never have enough starting pitching, because guys get hurt, guys underperform, they're expensive to keep. You see what's going to happen with Trevor Williams, potentially Chad Kuhl next year, and there's a concern there. He has 4 pitches that can be, I think, very good. The curveball is a little borderline, but everything else I think is plus. So Steven Jennings, though, will go to Oakland. And finally, this was just kind of a throw in Samuel Ainoa, I guess is how we'll say it. Throw him back at catcher. He's much worse than Heim, and his ratings are pretty poor, and he probably can't play first base. But he did do well in A-ball in 25 starts at 327, OPS of 984, OPS plus of 158. So that's nothing to sneeze at. So that is the deal. Hembry, Bay, Jennings, and Ainoa for Heim, and we're also getting, can't really see it here, $100,000 in cash as well, just as a little bit of rainy day money for us. So that is the deal. Heim will go to the 40-man roster. Probably will not be on the big league club this year, but we'll be back in spring training and hopefully have a better year 2 with Pittsburgh. Alright guys, we are here on December 13th for the Rule 5 draft. Before we do that, just want to give a quick update. Still waiting on Jacob Stallings to respond and react to our offer. He is favoring it, but has not signed it yet. Also given a minor league contract to Sam Haggerty, utility infielder. Just like having those guys in my minor league organizations, and those are the type of moves I'll make to fill out, I should say, the minor league group during the off season. So Rule 5 time. Let's look at the guys that we could be at risk at losing here. We've DFA'd, by the way, Brubaker and Jason DeLay to clear some space on the 40-man roster. We're at 37 of 40 players. Hopefully we can add some guys here. There's one guy in mind I'll show you in a second. In terms of who we still have left eligible for the Rule 5 draft, no one of any, I think, super significance. Obviously, anyone we wanted to really keep us placed on the 40-man roster. There is Zach Susi, who's a pretty good catcher defensively. I don't think he'll be taken, though. He's not, that good. He's been playing in A-ball, so most to put him in the major leagues. I mean, have at it. Really no one, to worry about too much here in AAA. Some names, but nothing significant. No one I'd hate to lose. The only guy I'm a little worried about right now is Paguro, the shortstop that was acquired in the Marte trade, I believe, back in 2020. And he's 20 years old, though. OSA has him as a 35 overall. He only played 70 games in Double-A and was pretty poor with the curve last year. So I really doubt any team would take him, but we'll see on that. So let's get to the Rule 5 draft and show you what the pool looks like. Now, we're picking 21st in the Rule 5 draft, and the guy I am targeting, and let me delete my filter I had on. The guy I'm targeting here that hopefully will be at the spot is a guy I've had an eye on for a while now, Jahmai Jones, a center fielder. He is with the Angels organization. Never going to be elite, but it's hard to find center fielders that can play good defense. His center field rating is not terribly high, but you see what the left field rating is, and he's not played a ton of center field either, just 300 innings roughly last year in Double-A, and did okay. So I think he can be even better with more experience there. I like the spark plug personality, high leader, adaptability, work ethic, speed, and the bat is average, I would say, across the board. He did well, though, in Double-A last season. So that's the guy I'm targeting. Hopefully he'll be there. Can't guarantee it right now, but let's start the draft, and I'll meet you guys when it's time for the Pirates to pick. All right, quick look at the draft log here. Looks like 3 players have been taken so far. Look at the Padres have lost a couple of guys. Got Reggie Lawson, a reliever. A lot of relievers go here. Almonte, right fielder, who actually looks pretty good to Seattle from San Diego. And then Josh James, a pitcher from Houston, is now Rocky. That control looks pretty questionable, though. But we do have Jahmai Jones available still, and he's on a minor league deal, which I always like to help keep the salary down. So we are going to again select Jahmai Jones once I get to me here. Let's see, just out of curiosity, who our scouting director recommends, and it is Derek Fisher, a left fielder. No, not at all. Decent home run power, but okay glove, but strikes out too much, and the contact's too low. He's kind of interesting. So maybe I shouldn't be so dismissive of it in a local guy, but we're going to go with the center fielder because they're a lot harder to find. So let's go ahead and grab Jahmai Jones. Again, one last look at him defensively and potential backup center fielder, pinch runner. Billy Hamilton slumps. Maybe this guy could get a look. No guarantee he'll even make it. We selected Jonah Heim last year and released him. That could happen with Jones, but we are going to give it a shot here with Jahmai Jones. Did look at some relievers here. This guy was kind of interesting. Thomas Burrows from the Dodgers organization with really good stuff. Fastball, slider are plus plus. I think I'm going to just skip any other picks, though, in the Rule 5 draft. Some guys were interesting. Doey's control is poor, but the stuff is electric. But I just don't think I like anyone enough. I looked at this guy as well, just trying to take a flyer on somebody. But I think we're going to just stamp out. We're already at 38 on our 40-man roster, plus Stallings will make it 39. I want to give myself some flexibility here. So I think we will skip the rest of the pick, Rule 5 draft, and see if we lost anyone. Because as far as I'm aware, we haven't, but I have not checked the entire list yet. All right, the draft is finished. I don't have an alert, so I don't think I lost anyone unless the alert comes tomorrow. Nope, looks like only one other player was picked after us, and there's a familiar name, Mike Montgomery. I think he was with the Cubs at some point. Yeah, he was in Chicago in 2019. He's bounced around since, was with the Angels and Rockies most recently. So only 5 players taken in the Rule 5 draft, and we were one of those 5 with Jahmai Jones. So you see the list there, and we will move on. I will do a quick prospect overview. I've not talked about our prospects in a little bit, and with a new scouting director especially. Let's review kind of our first 2 draft classes and where we're at with some of our top prospects. All right, checking out our top prospect list. Some of these guys have fallen off. Ramos was up to 27. He's now the 38th. I don't know. They seem to change. I click on one tab. He's like 55th or 64th. Now he says he's 38th. I can't keep up. But here's a look at Michael Ramos. Still considered a top. He does not feel like a top prospect to us. I mean, maybe because he is good defensively and he's got home run power. Just doesn't feel like he's that special of a prospect right now, but he's there. O'Neal Cruz, we've kind of a borderline prospect, has a good chance to be part of our major league roster full time this year. I wish it was a void case, which just even if it was 40 to 45, I'd feel a whole lot better about it. But the other numbers do look really good. Let's check in on our first ever draft pick, Jimiko Enke. His potential has fallen a bit, but the overall, batting ratings I think have held firm. The eye discipline, the void case. I mean, he's never going to be a great bat, but I compare him pretty close to Adam Frazier. Kind of has that Frazier feel. We're teaching him how to play right field because I don't think he's good enough defensively at second base. A 50 position rating. His infield range is only 45. That's really poor. OSA is basically saying the same thing. So he is not going to be a superstar for sure, but he did well in AA, and he'll start the year in AA in 2022. And I think maybe by next year, assuming this is Adam Frazier's last year glowing, he could have a real chance to compete in 2023. So that's my rough outline for him. Sammy Siani, another outfielder, 20 years old, still looks pretty good. I think it's a guy to be excited about. Yeah, he did pretty well in A-ball last year. I was happy with his body work. So he'll continue to rise the ranks, probably be in a high A-ball this year. Nate Stevens, a catcher. Again, is he going to be good enough behind the plate? He potentially moved him to first base. Is power good enough? So some questions there. But he's not doing a terrible job so far. And he was really good in low A-ball last year. In 53 starts, hit 307 with a 155 OPS plus. Lolo Sanchez, also I like in center field, really good defensively. Another guy that I think could potentially, make the major league roster. Not anytime super soon, But in the relative near future, because he is great defensively, the batting profile I think is solid. He was productive in high A ball. Granted, at 22 or 20, was he about 22 last year, so probably a little advanced for him, and maybe he'll start the year in Double A. Jonah Heim, we talked about earlier. Chase Davis, one of our top picks, second round pick in 2020. His potential has fallen a bit, but the numbers still look pretty similar. He's got to definitely produce better, so there's a concern there. But I still have some confidence in Chase Davis. Mike Fleming, who was part of the 2021 class, still looks okay. They avoid Ks, and he's going to hopefully just be an okay bat. But I wish that eye discipline kind of he's a center fielder, an outfielder, but kind of a Kevin Newman type feel in terms of the eye discipline. Really low, and the avoid Ks is unusually high. Jahmai Jones has already cracked the list here, and Swaggerty just has not really worked out too much so far. He's probably going to be someone I'd look to trade. He's on the 40-man roster, though, and we'll look from there and see what he can do in spring training. With the pitchers, Elijah Content, his potential has fallen under our new scouting director, but the numbers still look decent. He's fallen in prospect, too. At one point was number 11. 48. The one list had him in like the 60s, so I'm not sure where he's at in terms of the top prospect, but he's fallen a little bit. But he's a power pitcher. Our organizational philosophy, our power pitcher, so I'm trying to keep him with the same pitching coach, and he'll start the year probably, I think, in Double A. He's going to start the year. We're going to try to move him a little quicker to see if he can even maybe potentially make a major league roster next year, which is a little advanced, but we're going to go ahead and give it a shot, at least as a JUCO kid. Will Klein, reliever, again, will that control? If that control can get to even 40, that would be fantastic, considering how good stuff the movement is right now. So a guy that could be a steal is a 27th round pick. And then some other guys here, Quinn Priester, he's had some injuries, a changeup. This guy could be a reliever, someone that I may end up dealing because he may end up not really having the arsenal to be a starting pitcher. Unfortunately, he had, what was his injury? A fractured thumb. I thought he had something more severe than that, so I'm not sure. We'll keep an eye on Priester. Malone, though, had a severe injury. He's definitely going to probably end up being a reliever at this point. He had a torn ECL. Basically, I mean, literally did miss all of last season, so someone that may end up getting traded here before his value falls off too much. It's not looking too good for him. And let's see, Burrows, closer, not a whole lot to talk about there. Some former 2020 picks, Justin Fall. He's, not looking too good for him. J.R. Bradley, who's still pretty young, didn't pitch well last year, and Vasquez, who was in 2021 a fourth-round pick with good stuff. Just could not get the manager to pitch this guy last year. I don't know if it was because he was doing both as a batter and a pitcher. Only ended up pitching 7 2/3 innings and had a pretty terrible time at it. So before I forget, I actually made one other trade here, and so I want to talk about that with you guys, and then we'll get close to finishing out the off-season. This was a trade I made off camera. It is for Victor Mesa, and yes, that is a real player. And you can see his profile here, and you can tell why I traded for him, because of the speed, but more importantly, because of the defense. It is so hard to find center fielders with a position rating as high as that is. 70 center field, 75 outfield rating, 70 arm is excellent. His fielding stats generally supported a 10.5 ZR zone rating in Double A last year, and just over 900 innings. As a batter, he's pretty weak, although I do like the avoid Ks. That should help keep the average up a little bit, not make him prone to a ton of strikeouts. He's got no power. The gap power is poor. He's not going to walk a lot, but he did well in AAA last year. He had 287. The OPS plus was predictably low for someone who lacks really any sort of power. Only had 10 doubles, 2 home runs. Did have 10 triples, though, so as many triples as he had doubles because of that kind of speed. But, really here for his glove defensively, he'll never be a starter, or very unlikely to be a starter, but I could see him as a potential backup fourth outfielder type who can pinch run, play defense, and when he does have to pinch hit, at least he's less likely to strike out. So what did I give up for him? I gave up a couple of guys here. Juan Polanco, a decent catcher. He's got a good glove behind the plate. His avoid cases is okay. He's only 21 years old. Not a great batting profile, but it is so hard to find catchers with decent position ratings. And he was in rookie ball last year and hit 270 with an OPS plus of 87. So it's not the best. It's certainly not the worst either. He's got a potential of 40. So, potential fringe major league talent someday if things go right for him. Alex Manassa, a closer who's he's a finesse pitcher, and again, like I said earlier, my organizational philosophy are power pitchers, so he was just not going to gel well. You see the numbers here in ERA over 8 last season. So there is something there if he gets an organization that is more friendly to guys who don't throw a whole lot of gas, and so I think there's more potential in a different organization than what he was going to have in Pittsburgh. And finally, Rosado here, a third baseman who's just kind of average across the board. Really has not had a ton of success either, but the potential is there's 35. So he's not a 20-20 kind of guy here, and so I think there's something there. And give the Marlins a couple of options. Maybe somebody hits. I think Polanco has the best chance, but also, like I said, probably has a better chance in a different organization other than Pittsburgh. So that is the trade for Victor Mesa. Of course, this guy will start the year in the minor leagues, probably in Double A. We'll figure out, but he certainly will not be part of our major league roster to start the season, except for maybe a look in spring training. All right, guys, checking in here December 23rd, just before the start of the season. Have some minor news and notes to come back with you guys. Jacob Stallings has signed his one-year deal with the Pittsburgh Pirates, so he will return as the catcher in 2021 with Trace Barrera. Speaking of catcher, we did lose somebody. Jason DeLay was DFA'd, and he was clean. I'm a little surprised by that. I think two teams put in a claim, Texas and Washington, and the Nationals went out, and he is good defensively. But with us having Jonah Heim as next man up at catcher, should there be an issue with Stallings or Barrera, DeLay was pretty expendable, and he was with us in limited action last year, 5 starts, and did not do very well at all. So I'm not going to miss him a whole lot. I do want to talk about 2 guys I'm keeping an eye on right now. I don't want to look at the staff list. Let's look at the player list and go to the 2022 targets. 2 guys here, Robbie Grossman, who I had interest in the past. I think I mentioned him in a previous offseason video. Not that I have a big need for outfielders. We have probably too many outfielders right now. I'm not going to pay him $1.2 million. But it's just interesting with the way some guys sim and the eye discipline of Voit K's whole Moneyball approach, similar to Jonah Heim. He was with Texas last year, 11 starts, walked 14 times, struck out only 8, and had more walks and strikeouts in 2020 as well with Oakland. So if I could get him on a minor league deal, that would be interesting. Kind of a this year's JB Shuck type. We would be in the minor league if there was an injury or guys weren't productive or I just was frustrated or something. I could look at Robbie Grossman, a former Pirate, I believe. Yeah, he was with the Pirates early on. 6-round pick back in 2008 and traded in 2012. So potential late reunion similar to Shuck. Similar story with this first baseman, John Nogowiski, I guess is how we'll say it. I think I have just offered him a minor league deal. I don't know if he'll take it because he wants some, major league contract or minor league contract to become a major league contract, whatever the case is, but very similar to Tyler Nevin, who I got in a previous trade, and probably even better. Not a power, not a traditional first baseman, but again, I just love this whole Moneyball approach with a high eye discipline and avoid K. Walked 45 times last year, struck out only 29, on base percentage almost at 400. Similar stories. Past couple of years, you see he's walked more over the last 3 years than he struck out by a fairly healthy margin as well. So just be an interesting guy, especially with Josh Bell being in the last year of his deal and very unlikely to come back after the season. Not that I would view this guy as taking over that spot, but ever an injury against someone not productive, I just like to have that kind of depth in the minor league system. He's got 36 days of major league service time. Let's see what he's done in the majors. Looks like just 4 plate appearances, all at bats, has not struck out or walked yet, but that is obviously an incredibly small sample size. So keep an eye on those guys. And one other thing, we'll check in on the offseason center to see what the rest of the league is doing. The Dodgers, man, the rich become richer. They have traded back for Ryu with Toronto, so he comes back to them. He is fragile, but they're getting another starting pitcher. They've added more guys in the bullpen. Not even sure, like Chaffin here. He gets on a deal. He was with Boston last year. They just added, who did they just end up bringing back here? They got this De La Rosa guy as well. So, I mean, they are just bolstering after we upset them in the NLDS last year. So, taking a look at offseason summary by team, who has done the best, it's been the Astros, who I think I mentioned earlier, got Arenado and Realmuto. The Athletics are second. Let's see what Oakland has done here. They got us in a couple guys in the trade that we did with them. They got Carlos Rodon on a pretty manageable deal, although his overall has fallen quite a bit. So maybe they just lost some guys. But I'll go through the list of players who have been signed. Feel free to pause it at any time. Yeah, Buster Posey. Also, the Dodgers got Buster Posey to back up Will Smith, which is just insane. Why would Posey go there? But he is. So there you go. So someone I kind of had some light interest in, but his contract ended up being pretty hefty. So did not want to spend that kind of money. Let's see, anyone else here I want to talk about? Trevor Story going to the Giants, Kimbrel to the Mets, Corey Knebel, by the way, he's going to the Cubs. So he was in Milwaukee. I thought we wouldn't have to worry about him anymore, but now we'll have to worry about him in a Cubs uniform instead. Rizzo, I didn't realize this. He goes to Colorado, so that's a good place for a power guy like Anthony Rizzo to go on a decent contract there. 37 home runs with the Cubs last year, and I'll get to go play in Coors Field. And yeah, Conforto staying with the Mets. Joe Kelly, I believe he re-ups with the Dodgers. There's that Diaz guy I looked at earlier. So that's kind of the overview of the offseason. Unless anything else major happens here, I will meet you guys at spring training. We'll go over the spring training roster, and I'll end the video there. And then the video after this will be the opening day of 2022. Alright guys, we have arrived at spring training here on February 17th, 2022. Want to go through the last couple of steps before wrapping up this video. It's already gone on longer than what I would hope and like it to be, but you see the AL preseason predictions here. Tampa in the East, Cleveland, a game over the Twins in the Central, and in the West, Houston over the Angels. So that is the look at the projected winners of each division. And then top hitters, you see the names here. I'll just leave it for a second so you guys can scan and pause the video if you would like. And for the NL in the East, it is Atlanta. The Brewers somehow in the Central. Pittsburgh, us at 77 and 85. And the Brewers are decent. I think they finished in last place last year. So we'll see if they can be a team truly on the rise like these projections suggest. And of course, the Dodgers in the West. And then the top hitters, some familiar names for us. Only one name here in the top hitters, top pitchers. It is Brian Reynolds, who's projected to have a 314 average, 26 home runs, hopefully more than 77 RBIs at least. But those are the preseason projections. We'll check back at these because they change right before the start of the regular season for our next video on opening day. And speaking of spring training here is the spring training lineups. I may tweak it a little bit here throughout the process. Injuries and such could dictate things, but yeah, we'll see. Excited. Got some young guys in here. O'Neal Cruz, who's going to work at first base and right field. I'm excited to see him. Hopefully be part of this big league club for the first time, full time. He got a cup of coffee last year. Let's see here. Other guys. We'll see what happens between Taylor Walls and Cole Tucker at short. I think I might have them platoon Walls versus righties and Tucker versus lefties to start and kind of see who kind of takes hold of that spot and opportunity. Have former first-round pick Travis Swaggerty up on the spring training roster for the first time in his career. Might have stunted his development a little bit by keeping him in the minors so long. And will he stay in center field? I like my center fielders to have probably better defensive ratings, and I like them to have elite defensive ratings in center. But we'll see what he can do. So not a lot of spots available right now. Really, I think Cruz, unless he tanks in spring training, is going to make it. And then you'll have Almus and Walls and Tucker. And we'll see if Jones here, our Rule 5 pick, can make it. I would like him to. And then it's probably going to come down to a last outfield spot. So Jones versus Schuck versus Swaggerty and Sanchez and whoever else wants to try to push Augustin as well. So that is the projection right now. But of course, injuries and such and performance could change those things. For the pitching staff, same starting rotation. We may add in a sixth guy here just to, late in spring training. But Keller, Musgrove, Bolton, Williams, and Kowar, who we traded for earlier in the offseason. The bullpen looks relatively the same too, although I am worried about definite regression with someone like Amir Garrett and even Steven Brault. I was thinking about Brault a little bit, and he's had a couple of really good years in Pittsburgh, but I just wonder how long these numbers are going to hold as good as they are. I mean, you're always wrestling between how well a player sims versus how well the numbers in his scouting report look. So could he be on the move? I think there's a potential for that. So just something to keep in mind going forward. And then some backup, fringe arms here in the bullpen. Hopefully getting a good year from David Bednar, who we traded for back in our first year, but has struggled in his kind of looks here in the major league. But I like his overall profile, and hopefully he's able to put it together this year. Same with Blake Cederlin, who I think can be a good reliever, just has yet to show it. And we have a former draft pick, our first ever draft pick, our first draft pick to make it to the spring training roster that we've ever personally drafted. It is Will Klein, who has really become a diamond in the rough, former 27th round pick in the 2020 draft. And you see the numbers here, just about getting that control. If that control can even hit 40, then you have a really good prospect. If it stays around 30, 35, then he's kind of borderline. That's going to frustrate you as much as he'll produce for you. But we'll see how he does here. He was in AA last year. He probably will not actually make the team out of spring training, but I just want to get a long look at him. So that is the spring training roster. We'll take on the Brewers today, and so that will wrap up the video. In our next video, we will play opening day for 2022. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.